over around
Thank you for whoever reminded me.
the darga was made mostly with male attitudes. And so basically it's kind of cold, it's not very comfortable, it's impressive, it's very impressive, and it's beautiful, and it's a celebration of Murshid Sam, and for a lot of interesting reasons, Murshid Sam's body is not in the center, it's over the side, so anybody can lie next to it and be in the center there, which I liked a lot. But there's nothing female about it, really. And Murshida Vera's grave is below that, and there's no way to get to it except by by going outside and going onto the dance field and walking there. You can't walk from Murshid's grave to Murshida's. So when I got there, because I had to walk up and get really tired, I thought, there's something wrong here. And thought, well, what's the quickest thing I could do? Because I don't know how long I'm going to be alive. Maybe 6 months, maybe 8 months. So maybe less. But I wanted to do something, and I thought, well, so I went down to Murshida's grave, and I didn't use the regular way. I climbed down a rather dangerous way where you go off a big steep edge and it's all muddy. I think the long-term plan is perhaps to make a path up there or to make some steps, but nobody's done anything about it. So I went down to Murshida's little tiny place, and there was a hole in it, which is kind of like a vagina. And then over that hole, there are a lot of little tiny statues of female creatures. So I picked up one of them, which was she had wings, and she had a child at her breast and another child in her arm. So there were two children there, and she was very generous. And so I just picked it up, and I took it and I put it right across on the wall of the back of the tomb so that there would be some kind of a female presence there, which
Up at Samuelos's grave.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, on the darga itself, which made it put a lot more curves in the room, for one thing. Although it was tiny, I mean, it was this big compared to the size of this room. But it's symbolically, it meant a lot to me to put mine and all of the females there and all the females who exist in every man, because we're not really men and women. There's a huge we're human. Anyway, so I put that there, and then I picked up this thing that Sabura Meyer made and sent to me. And I realized after I'd had it for a while, let me put it in the sun is shining in here, but I can't quite figure out where. Anyway, oh, here it is. As you see, she's definitely baby related because of the size of her breast, but she's also all women and really all people related. But I feel like to have everybody who goes to Lama or loves Lama or agrees that women are not equal to men yet in the world, and the fact that at the end of last century, we in the Rouhaniyat made a monument that did the same thing that the old culture that we have to pull out of, obviously, to me. I mean, of course, there are people who disagree with me, and probably those who would murder me if they could. But but I do think it's important for women and men to find some way to be not married partners, but human beings who are part of cultures that mix with understanding of one another and what our functions are, that don't necessarily have to do with. I know that the reason I'm a title as a Murshid is because I was big and strong and noisy. This is not the reason to make Murshid. I mean, I probably have other good qualities too.
A couple.
And I didn't think that I didn't deserve it or anything like that. But I think that basically the part of the women who make these soft atmospheres that we can live in these friendly attitudes that know how to modify their speech so they don't hurt people's feelings, who help to teach men how to modify their speech so they're not hurting feelings, that we can do a lot more communication with love and calm abiding within every situation, so that the miracle that is possible to love everybody, even those people who are horrible. Doesn't mean we have to approve to other behaviors, but to be able to turn on our love. That seems the most important. And so this was a little tiny gesture. I thought all the women who were interested in it could make a little woman and put her on Mercer's grave. And then other people who came up to the grave could take one of the little women and take them home and make one themselves and put another one, get another one there. And as that happened, as those came in the mail, then people would take them up there, people to take them away, and there would just be this conversation going on relating to the Darga that had something, didn't have to do with the idea of worshiping men or worshiping idols or worshiping anything but reality. I mean, it's a little bit confusing what I'm suggesting, but anyway, that's my main message of.
Asha, you said something the other day when we were talking, and you wanted to
Thank you,
talk
Kim.
about it today. Um, that you had talked about the corpus callosum as the part of the brain that talks to each side, like it transmits information from the
The
left.
one on me that I have a tumor in, yes.
Right. That there's a tumor in. And what you said was so interesting to me, because you said it's like it's like this messenger between the male and the female sides of the brain. And to me, it just really struck me that, right. I mean, we talk about male and female in everybody, but actually in the brain, there's the right side of the brain that, and forgive me, I'm not a neuroscientist, but where there's creativity and feelings of love, and then there's the left side of the brain, which is directive and rational, and if I'm getting this correct. And then there's this messenger, this corpus callosum, that talks to both sides.
And basically, I just have to stop this
Yeah,
and
good.
say, it's not that set.
Right.
There are
okay.
jillions of genes and billions of little tiny things that come together, so that it's just a vague thing. And basically, to call them even male and female, I think it is, or maybe you were leading to that it's not the male side and the female side. We've made it into the male and the female side, but
Right,
every
right.
language doesn't do that, and every society doesn't do that. I mean, the soft place in women is highly recognized in certain societies. I have not done enough studies to put out any words on that level, but it's the whole business of making communities has to do with finding in people that where we are in our communication system, and there is a necessity for a certain number of, say, people, whether they're male or female, who have this strong part where they just are strong. And so that strength gives strength to everybody else. So the people who have more expertise, but not maybe so much energy or so much psychic or physical strength, to get it all mixed together, rather than people who aren't strong having to try to be strong, and people who have a subtle brain having to do work that is not appropriate. It's a waste of a subtle brain to be appropriately violent or strong. I don't know. It's just, there's so much more to learn about ourselves before we start being expert about what a man and a woman is. But I think that women have to be recognized as human more than women, basically. Okay, now.
Yes. Thank you, Asha.
So why don't we take a few breaths together?
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, feel your fingers. Feel the end of your fingers. Feel the tips of your fingers and your fingernails. And then slowly crawl up your fingers to your palms. And then crawl into the inside of your wrist. And feel how strong the connection between the inside of the wrist is and the inside of the elbow. And then bring it up to your shoulders. And then take that energy and put it into your neck and your upper back. Down the right side of your neck into your shoulder and your right shoulder, and down your arm to the elbow, and then to the left side of your shoulder, and then to the top of your head. And then go to the very top of your head and just crawl down from the top of your head, down that Aliv, the line that starts the Allah, the Aliv, which is everything, all the power, all the love, all the glory in the world, the whole Gansa Megillah, and just take it down, down, down into your neck and into your heart, and into your, I like going into my belly button actually, because I think of having started where that belly button is. How amazing. And then down into the belly, and then down into the whole sexual area, and then down into the thighs, the knees, and the lower legs, and the ankles, and the feet. And then see if you can turn on all the fascia. The fascia are the organs that surround all your muscles. And they're one organ, turns out. And our nerves work most effectively there. And just feel the beauty of your own life, that you're alive. I am alive. We are alive. I am beautiful. We are beautiful. We can love ourselves. We can make ourselves empty. We can make ourselves full. We can breathe. Feel your breath as it comes in and out. Drink it. Eat it. I put together a whole system that I've ignored all my life, which is that breathing is not just breathing in and breathing out. Breathing is taking air into your nose or your mouth and putting it in your lungs, and then taking it from your lungs into your heart, and then taking it from your heart into your circulatory system. You doing that? As you breathe in from your nose or your mouth into your lungs, into your heart, into your circulatory system. And then, as your circulatory system moves around, guess what it does? It puts oxygen in every cell in your whole entire body is filled with oxygen, and probably a million other things that we don't know how to measure yet. So as you breathe in your nose, feel that whole position, take like a teaspoonful of blood somewhere in your circulatory system and just see where it goes. Start experimenting with feeling that how complex and beautiful it is that we can pull out of the air. I mean, they tell us that that drops of water in the air, whether they're in clouds or rain or just sort of wet air that they're on. Dust collects water, doesn't know, but I've never read anything that mentions all the other things that are in that drop of air that we take in. So I don't know a lot about that, but maybe some of you do, and write me a letter and let me know, because I'm curious. But just feel the deliciousness of all the idea that what we were taught into separate spheres. Oh, my nose, my mouth, my lungs, my heart, my circulatory, my veins, it's all one system. And since I've been breathing with this one system and feeling the details more and more of it, I have wished that somebody had taught me that when I was in school, or since then. I just learned about it, quite recently, because I had grown up I was born in 1935. I had grown up in a system where we were taking everything apart, not putting things back together again. So feel your whole body as whole. And your breath is this delicious event. Because as long as you let it be a delicious event, your body gets really happy. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to take my hour up before I even get to hear an original question.
You're doing great. Doing great. So what I thought we could do is I'll read a little bit more from, well, there's a couple things. I want to make sure we give you an update on a couple of things. Maybe we'll do that now. And one thing is that several people are working diligently on a website for Asha. And I may have said it was going to be available way sooner than it's going to be available. So it's coming, and it's going to be a place where you can buy Asha's retreat book, which we're going to talk a little bit, from today, and her cards. And there might be some other things, interesting surprises that you might be able to do there. And then do you want to give an update about how you're feeling and your health? And
I feel the same as I felt all along. I feel after I had the operation, I was in joy and total love, and it's available to me anytime. But I live in a place that is attached to friendship and activities, so I'm definitely not a monk. And I'm definitely involved in what my friend Tim, where is it?
Tim Michelle?
Yeah,
Delta.
Tim Michelle. The Delta and the ocean. That basically, the Delta is where we have friends and we have exchanges. I mean, above the Delta is our history. You started up as a sperm and an egg in the spring at the top of the mountains, and then, gathered all these rivers and valleys. And then there's this delta that forms with the tides coming in and out. So if you want to be with people or anything that's solid and considerably more real than the glory of God, the fellowship of the Holy Spirit. I guess for me, the fellowship of the Holy Spirit happens in the Delta, because we have to, find each other, talk to each other, act like people, become nouns, become voices, so that's part of this movement. And when I realized that the Delta, I mean, our first conversations, the Delta was its own place and the ocean was its own place, but of course nothing is its own place. And what's so great is at the Delta, where the river meets the ocean, right? In most places, twice a day, there's the tidal change. I mean, it varies wherever you are, but I'm sorry, my mind gets empty when I go into these subjects.
Well, no, that's great. Yeah, and the thing about the Delta that maybe we've talked about it on here before, is that idea that even though there's like a high tide and a low tide twice a day, it's in constant movement either toward, like going up the river, or moving back toward the ocean. And so there's this constant mixing and mingling, and the ocean, turning everything it encounters into itself when it comes into the river, and the river turning everything into itself when it moves into the ocean. So it's not like it's like what you were saying about the nose and the heart and the lungs. It's just constant flow. So, all right. So I want to read a little bit from the retreat book. Oh, I'm sorry. The other thing I did want to say is about your trip out to California. I sent everybody a high level update that you are going to California, and there'll be more that I'll send out as we know details. You're hoping maybe to lead a couple of Zickers, and you'll see your sister, and
then we're going to hopefully have a big thing in the Golden Gate Park
oh, cool.
where a lot of people can come and see each other too, where Joe Miller used to start people on walks. Maybe we'll take a walk, get everybody who used to take walks with Sam, because the Golden Gate Park is beautiful and it's the best part of California,
Cool
and
thing
the
to do.
civilized part.
Yeah, what a cool thing to do. So as more information reveals itself, I'll make sure that you all get to see it. And somebody just asked about your physical health. Maybe, at the beginning, I think you said a few things, but you want to.
My blood pressure goes up to 180 sometimes, not very much, but I can bring it down within 10 breaths to 135. And I never feel bad about it, so I don't worry too much. I do take it. I tend to take it. Sometimes I take it every day, and then sometimes I take it once every 2 weeks, depending. But it doesn't seem to affect anything in my life.
The tumor is growing, right?
I don't know.
Oh,
It doubled in size. The tumor that was growing, which is in my corpus callosum. So tomorrow I have an appointment with an expert on, person who deals with.
oncologist.
Yeah, he's an oncologist, but he's an oncologist of glioblastomas. I hope. Anyway, I don't think I'm going to do anything, because even anything that I could do could give me maybe a month or two more to live. And it seems to me that going along with any treatments changes things in some way that's not natural. And I don't know. I'm having such a good time. I don't want to change it. It's just fun. It's just fun looking at all your faces.
Can you talk to gallery here?
Yeah. It's much better to look at everybody
Yeah, I was
else.
just thinking about recording it, but that's okay.
What, it won't record it?
No, it's fine. It's
Okay.
good.
Good.
So probably no treatment, because you'd be really super tired and maybe probably sleeping more and just not having as much fun. And other than the glioblastoma, you seem to feel great. And she was moving like a 150-pound picnic table around yesterday and cleaning up around the pond. And so.
Okay, let's move to another
Okay.
subject.
Okay, done with that. So I want to read a little bit from the retreat book, and what we've decided to do today is open it up to any questions you might have after I read this. So the beginning of this is from the beginning of the retreat book. A 40-day retreat I did in the winter of 1989 in a 10 by 12 cabin in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains near Charlottesville, Virginia. No electricity, no running water, a 30-minute walk to any people. I decided to chronicle my experience daily, as I had so few maps of retreats other people had done. None of the experiences I had read or heard about gave me a sense of what actually happens. This is my experience as honestly as I could chronicle it. Vocabulary and the limits of art restrict the transmission of it. but I hope it's helpful for anyone who is interested in this kind of quest. Questions about the purpose of life arise and fade, but by the end of this retreat, I realized I was in agreement with my father's conclusion that the purpose of life is living.
Well, I still agree with that. It certainly isn't
Can you
not.
guys hear me?
Yep. Oh, Eliezer, hi.
Where is
He's
Eliezer?
right here.
Hi, El.
Hey, I just want to tell people, not long after your retreat, I went to that same cabin for 40 days, maybe a year later. And on day 23, I was going bonkers and decided I don't have to prove anything to anybody. I don't have to finish this. I was ready to give it up. And I went down to the tree where you or our friend Peter would leave me a new jar of peanut butter. And I didn't know anything about your retreat book. I didn't know it existed, but for some reason you left it there for me that day. And reading it was so hilarious that it totally got me over the hump and allowed me to complete the 40 days. Because a lot of the pages are just someone meditating with bubbles coming out of their head, having all the identical thoughts and feelings that I was going through. And it just allowed me to lighten up. And I love you and I miss you. I hope to get down there when you're home,
Down where?
where you
Oh,
live.
you get down
Here.
to see me. Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Great.
So, Asha, what do you think the most useful part of retreat is or has been in your life?
Well, a few years ago, I started when I was going to big group things, which I don't go to anymore, but to be a teacher, most of them were Rouhani, but not all of them. I realized that um, for me, the best retreat was to stop, just stop. And it's interesting because what happened to me when they took part of my left brain out was that's what happened is I stopped. I mean, I still, carry on, I move, but there's only now. There's no place to go. I mean, there's no place to go in my mind. There's no place to go in the world. I don't know whether we have will or not. I am completely happy in the unknowing of it. I mean, I know this. I mean, if I was listen, I mean, if I listened to myself, I would think I was crazy. But I don't have a self. I don't have an identity or a. I mean, if somebody said, "Well, who are you now?" and I could say, I don't know. I could say more of who we are. Like there is a persona in this unroom that we've gotten sort of used to getting into. This is one of the only things I do on the internet anymore because I was part of all kinds of intellectually interesting things, and suddenly they took part of my brain out, and that part of my brain is no longer that active. And I had already started getting tired of, I mean, before the operation, but I mean, the operation came after something had grown in my brain that wasn't so hot, or you could call it hot. But it had to do with not feeling the necessity of being a person, So life goes on. I mean, I do stuff. Hi. I look at each of you and I feel so much love. I wish I could see you all at once, but then I'd have to have magnifying glasses, really big.
Let's see, we can click through. We're clicking through the screens. We can see everybody. Hi.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'd like to answer your questions, actually.
Yeah, so one thing I'm going to do real quick, Asha, is somebody is asking for more volume. So I'm going to do a quick, if I can here, reset the.
Well, I can talk.
Yeah,
is
does
it both
anybody
of
have
us?
any questions? There, that should do it. Anybody have any questions for Asha?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi,
can.
Lucy Zarifa.
This is a very mundane question, and it's so good to see both of you. I was looking at the roster of the camp my granddaughters went to last week, and I saw two girls from North Garden, Virginia, with the last name of Greer. Did your granddaughters go to camp? Keystone in North Carolina?
Yes.
Well, my granddaughters were with them, although they probably didn't meet because of COVID. They kept them in their own cabins.
That's very far out.
Yeah.
That's
That
really,
was so cool. I saw
tell
that.
me their name so I can tell Lena.
Um, Bertie and Kate Repley.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Those-
Bertie is 8, Kate is 12. Your granddaughters are older or younger? I don't. My granddaughters had no clue who they were.
Right.
But I
Well,
said, this has
I'll-
got to be the grandchildren of a friend of mine. Because I mean, how many people even know where North Garden is? And that it's close to Batesville.
What are their names now?
Bertie
Bertie,
and Kate
Kate.
Repley, Repolley.
No, these girls were older.
Yeah, yeah. That's a big camp.
Yeah, it is a camp. These girls are older. They're older.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but anyway, thank you.
I love you. I love you.
Anybody else?
So Mudita, I'm
Oh,
not sure if
okay.
you have a question. It looks like you, I don't know if it was to me or if you're asking it of Asha. But it's not a complete, yeah. Can you say what you mean, Mudita? If you'd like. You're muted. Thank you.
I was really trying to say it incognito, but
Oh,
that's okay, no problem. It's just a feeling, being raised by a single mother in the 60s, she worked very hard in a bank and worked in the trust department, and she made 250 a month where the men made 1,000 a month because the men were the breadwinners. But, my mother was the breadwinner and raising two daughters. So, we now just have our first woman vice president. And I was just wondering, Asha, if you feel, for the most part, and please nobody, everybody just sit with it. For the most part, men really like to follow men and women really like to follow men. But for the most part, women really don't like to follow women unless they're older women, because then they're seen as maybe being very wise. But women have a tendency to be a little bit of some territorial stuff that goes on just in tribes, and not good tribes, but tribes that have a lot of egos in them. So would you want to speak to that at all, or do you have any of that kind of feeling?
Well, it's a subject I think about a lot, so I can't simplify it to that group. I mean, I think that there are probably women who prefer women and men who prefer men and back and forth, but I think it has a lot to do, number one, I think it's different about how much energy you have in sexuality, because a lot of men stuff has to do with your how much you're caught in your sexual organs. Like women, I was born in 1935, and from 1935 until 1950, all the women that I knew, and that certainly wasn't, I was from an upper middle class kind of family, restricted. They were not normal men and women in any culture because they come from very different cultures and different countries. But they, you were not supposed to have a sensation below your, I've forgotten a lot of nouns because I got,
Diaphragm.
yeah, below your diaphragm, you know, and so if your clitoris got excited, woo-wee, you know, unless he was on top of you, and, you know, I mean, it was a big deal, right? So that during the 60s, watching the change, but it was basically the women who came out were all very outspoken and strong in their feelings, and sometimes overreaching because it was such a charged subject. Things are changing now, and I have no idea what's happening. When I talk to my grandchildren, I can't even interpret what is going on among young people. So basically, it's like I feel like I'm inside something that is changing radically inside of a lot of people, and it's not changing inside of a lot of people. And you could call it the conservative people who have been brought up in the same town with the same people who have the same feelings, and whose culture and tradition has carried them. Or that you were brought up like me in Los Angeles, which is probably the least cultured city in the world, because everybody, you know, three groups just started there in a place that wasn't even meant for humans. It's really dry. Most of the water is imported. So it's a really complex subject, but I'm very interested in the idea that women begin to explore their own power, however it expresses itself, but because the possibilities are numberless, and basically, but not to scare men and not to have men scare women. It's the scaring part that's so hard. And because sex is, you know, the physical edge of what love is so beautiful when there's real love, and it's so confusing when there isn't real love. And how to learn how to love, I think, is safer if you're a little cautious about it. Just because there's so many emotions involved with both sex and love when they're combined together. But when, you know, I mean, when you realize basically that you're not only a sexual organ that's down at the bottom of your body, you're a whole human being, and that it's a whole human being who has to get some kind of power over what we call the ego, I guess. The part that says, I want to be, and I want to be the best, and I want to be the most, and I want to be the happiest. All of us are so different. And then we see some kind of image. We're also so caught in imagery in movies and mostly in ads too, that tell people who aren't really careful about what they look at and what they fill themselves with between the ages of, let's call it 5 and 25, right? If you get identified with those images that get thrown out, and there's so many of them that emphasize physical beauty that nobody looks like, you know, it's physical beauty that some artist did some work on a really good computer screen to make somebody look like it's worth buying the clothes that they've got on, or it's worth looking like they do in movies. But this isn't what makes us real. This just makes us pretend we're something, and we're so much. I mean, it's so confusing to think of what we really are when we think about how matter happens. You know, I mean, I think your question is an excellent question, and I think taking it apart is, at this point for me, the best answer, because you have to look at each individual and find out who they are. I mean, it's kind of like psychology in terms of finding out where have I picked up somebody's message that doesn't apply to me? You know, I was 6 feet, now I'm 5'8", right? A 5'8" woman is very different than a 6-foot woman. You know, it's a whole different relationship with every man I meet. Completely different.
Or when you're like 5'2", like I am.
Yeah.
And, you know, one time at a Jamiat, there was something that kind of went on that left the room like nobody could kind of probably breathe or even swallow. And I just spoke up, but, was kind of later thought, oh, I should have just not said anything. I should have let it go, everything. And then afterwards, walking to lunch, you said, oh, Mudita, we really need your voice in the Rahaniyat. I mean, that so impressed me, that support from you. Do you know what I'm saying? It was a really big moment for me. And then, of course, people secretly, they secretly said something to me, but not in front of the group, because it's kind of like either
Well, listen,
you're
go on,
in.
make some little statues, okay?
Okay, I will.
Okay, promise?
Asha, you said something that I think it's important, that when we as women claim our power, it's not in reaction to or against men. It's just this power that we have inherently that has nothing to do with our personality. It just has to do with the one way to say it is the life force that's just coming through. It's just coming through. And it's not relative, I think, it's not relative to men. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, and I mean, I think the only way to get inside of your womanhood is to meditate and to work on your body, and to do forms of yoga that make you aware of the sensations in your body, not your interpretation of the sensations of your body, but the sensations of your body. What's happening right now, right here in my heart, behind my sternum? Where are my feelings? How easily can I turn on the sensations of my heart? And when something hurts my feelings and I tighten up, where does that sensation happen? That was the beginning of my really waking up to who and how I reacted. And I was extremely surprised at how many sensations I had that I didn't like them, so I threw them away. But if you get to know those sensations that you have and you listen to them, basically, you can change your attitude, but to not try to understand not, I'm furious, but what is causing, what story am I putting into my body, which has nothing to do with what that person just said. People say stupid things because we all say stupid things if we're reactive. The stupid thing comes in, and then it goes back to when we were 3 years old and you were about to put your hand in some coffee and somebody said, no. And it scared everything out of you, and your body straightened, and someplace in your body got a response. And then the next time that happened, it got stronger and stronger and stronger. But the stories go along with all those reactions, but you can erase those stories because they are no longer happening. You can end stories by not going around to people who do them, or you can end stories by giving them less value. So that the men and women thing is very connected with this, is that basically men do this. Somebody gets mad, they're not maybe mad at you at all, but there's a madness in their voice, and then you think that they're mad at you. This happens to both men and women. But women talk about it with women, and men talk about it with men, and there are many men who just don't want to stop being the strongest. And there are many, many women who don't want to stop being the most beautiful. Well, let them be. We want all these extremes. It's what makes life more interesting. But I think it's not the healthiest thing to be, actually. I think the healthiest thing to be is to learn as many tricks as you can about behaviors that cause you to be calmer. But, who knows what I would say tomorrow.
I love that. Shara, you had your hand up and I don't see you on the screen. I'm wondering if you're still here.
I am here.
Great. I wasn't avoiding you. And
Oh, that's okay.
yeah, great.
And we
Do you
just,
still have a question?
I do. A couple, actually.
Okay, thank you.
I love you very much. I was wondering if I know that you're being bombarded with love and attention and connections and things. Is it a preference to love you from the inner planes, or is there a preferred method of, letter, email, text, any kind of way that you have openness and comfort and happenings in communication?
yeah,
Great question. Thank you.
I get a lot. I get a lot when I didn't know that there were people who loved me as much as people seem to write in letters. I was kind of horrified because I realized I couldn't answer any of the letters. There were too many of them, and I would have to end any other life. So basically, if you're going to write me, so, and a prayer you'd like me to say for you, I would love to, I would like to do that. But mostly what I'd like you to do is, if you think of me and you feel love, what I would like you to do is to put love in your heart. Um, Wait a minute, I want to make your head bigger.
Here, we'll go to speaker. Although she'll have to say something. I don't know. Oh, wait, no, we can pin. Hang on, Shar, we're pinning you. There we go. There she is.
So if you send me your picture, you must send me what you want. And then after you have sent me what you want, then every day you remember what you wanted until you think of the next thing you want. Maybe you won't want anything. But my main feeling of what is really important is admitting that everybody is equal. Everybody is equal and everybody is lovable and everybody is loved. And that basically we have these protections to save our lives because the species wants to stay alive. And if you're faced with staying alive, there's a lot of questions that take more than this amount of time. But if you're going to love me, I want you to love yourself as much as you're seeing love in me or for me. Because you couldn't possibly feel any of that unless it was in you. That answer your question at all?
Yes. So I have another question.
And I'm going to type Asha's mailing address in the chat box.
Yeah, if you're going to mail me a question, if you're going to mail me something that needs an answer, say I need an answer, because
Okay, well,
it might be a short answer, but I will try to answer anybody who wants an answer.
well, of course, that's your giving response. I was not thinking in terms of asking for something. I just, that anyway, you answered the question. Second of all, I find myself less attached to and realizing there are these layers of energetic there's no words for, but I find myself being attached to being high, holy, awake, whatever words you want to put to it. So it's kind of hilarious that it's like the final, I don't know, that all of it sounds ridiculous to try to put words to, but is it possible, can you, I don't know, I find myself judging myself about it, but there's something about this place of wanting to not want anything, but I do want to be at one with my creator or the force or be conscious and present or whatever the state of, we've all, I don't know that everybody experiences it stays there. I think a lot of us have versions of, I think at some point that, anyway, there's no words. It just sounds ridiculous to talk about.
There aren't no words. It's true. I've been mad at nouns for a really long time because they make things solid, right? If I say water, right? Well, water isn't so bad to say because we need it so much in our body. But if you name a thing, it makes it like some kind of solid or unchanging. I would, if I were you, I would add changes happening every second. You're thinking in terms about nothing, you know. I mean, there's here when you were talking, now there's here when I'm talking, right? And so a lot of your energy is now caught in listening to me, probably 50% at least. But while you were talking, probably 70% of your energy was coming from yourself.
1 second. Char, can you mute yourself? There's so much wind coming across. People are having a hard time hearing. Thank you. Thank you.
Could you hear that, what I said? Yeah, okay. So I would start experimenting with that. It's just like, because when we're doing anything, and this is for everybody, when you're doing anything, you're not stopped, right? There's this gap that's between events. And if you can start becoming sensitive to the gap, and instead of wanting something else to happen, really to study the gap between. Until you begin to feel what you feel. What does your face feel? What does your body feel? What do your shoulders feel? What's your butt doing? You know? Are your feet in a good position? What are your feelings? Are you going deeper? Nothing's really happening except a jillion, quadrillion, kabillion things in the universe everywhere. Probably a lot of us are noticing that her hair was blowing a little in the wind. So just that stopping is going to help you find a way to rest. Did you get that?
Thank you, Shara. So somebody asked a question about mailing address, the PO box that I just typed in. Is the address to send letters? And if you want to send a package, then probably the Heartwood Road address is better. Yeah, thank you. Varda, I see you have a question. Your hand is up. I'm going to pin Varda's screen.
Hey, Marta.
Hi. It's actually not a question. It's a poem or a chant, something that came to me at the beginning of the pandemic, and it's related to this stop. And it turns out that there were a number of poems or messages that came to people at the beginning of the pandemic, and it's not long, and I'd like to read it. It also uses the Arabic words kun fayakun, which means be and it is. So, and it's called now. So it's for you, it's for everybody, it's for now. Stop. Just simply stop. This is our chance now. Heaven bestowed silence, a chance to sit in the stillness as never before. it all grinds to a halt. And be here now is the command to all. Did we ever imagine there would be a stop like this? Hard to believe. Yet here it is. Kun faya kun. Be, and it is. I am that I am. Isness is. This is our chance.
Nice. Beautiful. Nice. Thank you, Marta. Thank you.
Is your address 2834 Hartwood,
Yeah,
Afton,
Yeah.
22920?
I think so,
Yeah,
but I'm not
okay.
sure. I think it was, yeah.
I just sent the street address also. Somebody was asking for that. And it looks like we are at about time. Bren, did you have a question? I see you're unmuted.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Really don't. That was a mistake.
Here's your chance.
I love you both, and that's about it right now.
Is there anything else you want to say before we say it?
Well, yes, I want to thank you so much for showing up so I got to see you. I want to thank you for offering yourself to everybody else who's here. I want to thank you for wanting to wake up. That's big, wanting to wake up. I mean, and it's a lot of work. It's as much work as it is fun. But it's very important to have fun and to not take anything too seriously. Because every time you take things too seriously, forget it. Then you get stuck in some kind of fixed place where I find every time I take something seriously and I think about it, that I have to pull out of something that wants to take a story and to make it into a big story and make something important and dramatic. So I like to watch movies at night, whatever the movie is, because you turn the movie off and the movie wasn't real, even if you got totally caught in the story. So good movies are really fun to take a rest from all that and to be able to experience stories that don't particularly involve you. And basically, as you get older, you get less and less involved with them. That's what's coming out of my mouth.
Oh, wait, somebody asked a question. Let's see. Oh, Chad wants to know if she can bring you some daifuku mochi. Chad, that's a ridiculous question.
Yes. Yes, but you have to call me and when you're going to come so that I can serve you tea.
I will.
Okay.
Love you.
I love you. Thanks so much.
Love you, honey.
Is there any way we can just take a picture of all the people who are here so I can hang them over my bed and say goodnight?
Great question.
Does anybody know? Can you take a picture of, like, if I'm
I'm going to take a picture of my phone. There's...
You can take a screenshot.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great idea. I got it.
so this is,
One page at a time.
Yeah. Let's see. Is it, well, I thought it was that. Maybe it's this.
Command Shift 4.
Got it. It's Shift 3 on my computer, but thank you. Yeah. Okay, here's another one. And then one more.
This has got another really great thing is because one of the things I'm forgetting is words and people's names. And there are people who I love who I sometimes can't remember their names. And I want to telephone them and I can't call them because I can't remember the name to look up the number. So this will help me with that too.
Great. Thank you for all the technical support too. All right. Do you want to,
Okay.
do you feel finished?
Well, if there's nobody else who has any questions or doesn't have anything to say.
Love you.
All right, well, let's do my favorite new thing, which is we bow to the love within us. And then we bow to that which gives us love and is love. And then we come back, put our hands right in front of the middle of our plexus, and then send it out to everybody else. All the people who are on the screens here, but also to everybody in the whole planet, and to feel it in the palms of your hand, to put the energy of your complete generosity out into the air for everyone. Allahu Akbar. Yay. Thank you all.
Bye. It's hard to say goodbye.
It is, it's really hard.
Goodbye, Asha. I love you.
Bye. Nice to see you all.
Thank you, beloveds. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you, Asha.
Love you, Asha.
Me too. Me too.
Bye, Asha.
Bye-bye.
Asha, love you.
Goodbye, Asha. I love you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Love you, Asha. See you soon.
Oh, cool. Good. Well, I'm going to have a big thing happen in Golden Gate Park when I come in, I think it'll be really fun.
In August.
In August. Alauddin's going to come, and probably Shabda will come, and so good musicians stuff, so we can all just
Maybe everybody
play.
from the East Coast will fly out there. I see Lucy Zarifa going, wait a minute.
Okay, I'm going to leave.
I have a. Are you
I
coming
listened
back?
for a while. I pooped out, had to go lay down.
Love you, Asha.
Okie dokie, Smokey. All right. If you have
There's Kat.
See you in San Francisco, Asha.
okie dokie. See you later. Bye. Now I'm going to hit the leave meeting. Okay, end the message for all. Sign and leave. How do you end it?
Well, that's it.
There was a question about whether you were coming to New Mexico again.
That depends on how long I live. If I live long enough, I will be in New Mexico again. And if I don't, I'm going to San Francisco in the middle of August till the end. And then I don't have any plans to go anywhere else. But if I do go anyplace else, it would be to Taos.
I'll be waiting for you.
But I'm getting to a little more. I mean, my tendency is like this. It's not very much, and this is the bottom land. From where I started, it hasn't been much of a change over the 6 months. But they told me, the doctors seem to think it's 6 months would be lucky. So what do I know?
Maybe the tumor is going to totally disappear and evaporate.
Well, anyway, whatever I'm doing or whatever I'm saying, I stand behind and exists for you. And then basically, the sooner you claim it, the happier the world will be for everybody you know. Because you are all love. And it's really fun. And it doesn't turn off your feelings. It just turns off your misery. And now we have enough medicines, so that you don't have to hurt so much. Now, if you take medicines and you take so many medicines that they kill you, but they stop your pain, so you can make those kind of choices.
But you probably won't experience pain, is what. the
Well, I
doctors
don't
have
know
said.
whether I will or
That's
not.
what they've said. So
Yeah.
That's what I'm shooting for. That's what
Yeah.
I'm holding out for.
Very lucky. Well, may everybody here be lucky. Anyway, I am trying to.
Now, just go one meeting for all.
Yeah, there's no words. There's just love.
Love, 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 I love you.
And
You love me.
visualizing the tumor totally disappearing as well. It's a possibility.
What? I didn't hear it.
Visualizing the tumor just totally disappearing, evaporating.